Chapter 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In City D, the game company was dead silent. Nangong Yan sat hunched over his computer, fidgeting. In this industry, pulling all-nighters as a software engineer for a game company was practically a given. The reason for the unusual quiet? His fellow programmers were already passed out on the floor. The company's current project was a multiplayer online life simulation game. Players would get to choose how they wanted to live in the virtual world. The game was finished. Nangong Yan was running the final tests. As long as he didn't find any major bugs, they could deliver it to the client. What if there were bugs after the delivery? Easy, a version update. Ugh. Nangong Yan yawned. The computer screen illuminated his tired face in the otherwise dark room. I don't get why the client wanted this kind of game, he muttered, stretching. A Sims-like game? Is there even a market for that anymore? Back when online games were new, something like The Sims would have been huge. But after 20 years of rapid development, the market was flooded with all kinds of online games. A life simulation game felt like a really weird choice. Whatever, he sighed, running a hand through his hair. Just gotta finish my part. The rest is the publisher's problem. He stretched again and dove back into testing. An hour later. Finally done. Nangong Yan slumped back in his chair, a relieved expression on his stubbly face. He stood up, stretched, and cracked his neck. Looking around at the bodies on the floor, he chuckled. Alright, time to turn in our homework. He uploaded the packaged game files to the client. Sure, there are probably still some bugs, he thought, a grin spreading across his face. But let the players find them. He pictured them raging, and laughed. Finally, sleep. He pulled out his sleeping bag, the exhaustion hitting him like a ton of bricks. He forced his eyes open and crawled inside. This time. He mumbled, already half asleep. I need to sleep for like 2 days straight. Ugh, zzz. Wait, did I actually sleep for 2 days? And no one called me? Nangong Yan muttered, slowly waking up. Something feels off. He sat bolt upright, eyes wide. He stared at the unfamiliar ceiling in the unfamiliar room. Suddenly wide awake, he was in a strange bed, in a strange room. The sleeping bag was gone. A plaid quilt covered him. Light blue curtains fluttered in the breeze. A succulent he didn't recognize sat on the windowsill. There was a closet next to the bed, and a desk, a chair, and a high-end looking computer on the opposite side. The setup was simple, but screamed otaku's room. The walls were covered in anime character posters he didn't know. Shelves in the corner were filled with figurines. The bookshelf next to them was packed with books, probably comics and light novels. Did someone carry me home? He wondered. Suddenly, a wave of unfamiliar images flooded his mind. It took a moment to process them. When he did, he whispered in shock, Is this Ice-Guy? That he woke up and suddenly traveled to another world. He felt completely drained. He got up and splashed water on his face in the bathroom. Looking in the mirror, he touched his face and sighed. I really did travel to another world. This face is way younger. Whatever. I'm single anyway, so nothing to lose. He chuckled, already calming down. He had seen enough in his past life to be able to quickly adapt. Back in the room, he turned on the computer. While it booted up, he went over his memories of his new life. Ice-Guy is already a lot to take in, but this start is just unreal. He had already been shocked enough for one day, but the words still tumbled out. I have a sister, I have a house, my parents are busy, and the Nangong family is loaded. This is a dream come true. Parents who are never home are actually a blessing. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how to deal with them, he thought. Noticing the computer had started, he quickly began researching this new world. He needed to do this. Even though he had received the memories, it was just a rough overview. He needed to see if it was similar to his previous life. he glanced at the programs on the desktop. The icons and names were different, but he recognized them. Penguin chat, guess you can't escape the mighty penguin, even in a parallel universe. He went straight to the browser and clicked on the search engine, Qianshuan. Okay, this high-end computer was fast. Nangong Yan began to search for information about the parallel world. The new world was broadly similar to his previous life, with similarly advanced fields. The difference was its history. In this world, China was the most powerful country on the planet, a leader in military and technology. Because the world was at peace, people's interest in entertainment had soared. Fields like novels, anime, games, film and television, and music were booming. Some of the works, stars, and planets from Earth were here, too, but some were missing. He was curious, but decided to check something else first. Wait, where am I, anyway? He checked the location. Penglai Province? Where's that? Is that like, the island country from my old life? He checked again. Yep, Nangong Yan stopped scrolling. Alright, since Penglai has so many works that Earth doesn't, I guess we're exporting culture to Earth. Time for Earthlings to experience the awesome ACGN culture of Blue Star. He calmed down, then got excited again. Nangong Yan secretly decided to become a big shot in the ACGN industry. To bring a new wave to the new world. Huh? What's this? He noticed something strange in the corner of his eye. Chapter 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Nangong Yan noticed something weird out of the corner of his eye, like an arrow. Huh? What the heck is that? Thinking he was seeing things, Nangong Yan rubbed his eyes hard. Okay, definitely not imagining it. He lowered his hands, a little surprised. If it wasn't almost transparent, I'd think I was getting cataracts. Is this a time traveler perk? My golden ticket? Remembering all the time travel novels he'd read, Nangong Yan felt a surge of excitement. This had to be it. He took a breath and said tentatively, System. Godlike being. AI. Anyone there? Silence. No digital chirps, no robotic responses. Nangong Yan started to get the picture. No system wizard, huh? Guess I'm on my own for this. He raised his right hand and pointed at the arrow. Nothing. His fingers went right through it. Figured. He wasn't really surprised. Can't imagine this thing's touch operated. Imagine trying to explain that to someone. He pictured himself waving his hand in front of his face while someone looked at him with pity. He shuddered and shook the image away. Okay, it's gotta be mind-controlled. Nangong Yan stared at the arrow, focusing all his attention on it. He imagined his mind as a mouse, clicking the thing. Got it. This is literally just a button to take screenshots and hide the system menu. Nangong Yan's lips twitched. Seriously, yep, a button. He tapped it, and boom, the system interface popped up. He recognized it instantly, since he'd been staring at it right before he'd arrived in this world. The Sims, his eyes lit up. The interface in front of him was the Sims. So, my golden ticket is the Sims system. Looking at the familiar, yet slightly different, interface, Nangong Yan had a hard time staying cool, even with a dream start, having a system change the game. Without it, this whole situation was gonna be nightmare difficulty, but with it, things were gonna be much easier. The Sims system wasn't super advanced compared to some power-up systems, but this wasn't a fantasy world, and Nangong Yan was pretty happy with it. I've lived for 2 lifetimes now. I'm over 40 years old combined. I need to chill. After composing himself, Nangong Yan smirked. Time to figure you out. A quick glance showed the small map in the upper right, the 6 blank shortcut bars, and the system menu below, which were basically the same as before, but a closer look revealed some changes. Okay, system settings are locked. Nangong Yan was a little bummed, but he shrugged it off. Whatever. What would I do, anyway? Delete my account? Let's check out the character, skills, and all that good stuff. Nangong Yan clicked on his character status, character name, Nangong Yan, sex, male, age, 16, level, 1, 0/100, energy, 100, location, Penglai Province, China, identity, student, title, none, title list, status, energized. Figured there wouldn't be strength or agility stats. No changes there. Nangong Yan thought for a moment and nodded. Makes sense. The Sims doesn't need that. If it had stats, it would be a fantasy game. Next. Nangong Yan clicked on skills and stared at the screen, surprised. Whoa, so many skills. And skill points, talent skills, complete memory. Life skills, programming, LV6, cooking, LV4, piano, LV3, guitar, LV3, comics, LV2, writing, LV2, arrangement, LV2, choreography, LV1, other skills, Tai Chi, LV1, reconnaissance, LV0, skill points, 20. Nangong Yan scrolled through the list, totally confused. He took a deep breath and rubbed his eyes, just to make sure he was seeing things right. Okay, I knew there'd be changes, but this is a little insane. He twitched the corners of his mouth. Seriously? A whole bunch of random skills. Complete memory. When did I get that? He scratched his head. Maybe it's because I'm remembering 2 lives, and what's with the question marks? Hidden talents. Tons of life skills. Except for programming, which was his from his past life, the rest were things he picked up in this world. He really was a jack of all trades, and Tai Chi. Well, that was for self-defense, and reconnaissance, that skill was just weird. Level 0. Had he even learned it? And finally, 20 skill points, that his chaotic thoughts started to settle. Where's that chill I promised? Whatever, I'm 16. Nangong Yan thought shamelessly. This. After thinking about it for a while, Nangong Yan had a thought. This has gotta be a debug version, right? When programmers test the game, they don't want to waste time grinding levels. So they make everything faster, right? In a debug version of The Sims, you'd get double experience, double energy recovery, and double skill points, so basically 2 points every level, plus the 20 at the start. A normal player would get 100 points from level 1 to 100. And to max out a skill, it costs 10 skill points. So you can only max out 10 skills. Nangong Yan could max out 2 skills right away, and get another skill every 5 levels. Not even close to the same difficulty. Yes. I do have an advantage. Imagining his bright future, Nangong Yan almost lost it. Oh. Wait a second, how do I even learn new skills? Nangong Yan suddenly got worried. I don't want this to turn into a garbage game. There shouldn't be a problem, right? He wasn't sure, but he still shook his head and guessed, looking at that skill list, it shouldn't be too hard to learn new stuff. With that, Nangong Yan decided to ignore the problem and study the system. Chapter 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Okay, inventory time. Nangong Yan opened his backpack, face all business. Yep, empty. Guess that's a standard feature. Staring at the 20 slots, he mused, portable storage, like a ring or something, right? Let's see if it works. He glanced around, hunting for a test subject. You're up. Spotting the desk chair, he focused, thinking, beam me up. Nothing happened. Nangong Yan was a little embarrassed. Am I doing this wrong? He walked over, put his hands on the chair, and thought harder. Absorb. The chair vanished. Nangong Yan's face remained blank, but his clenched fists betrayed his inner excitement. So, gotta touch it to snag it, huh? Nangong Yan paused, then looked at the chair now displayed in the inventory, and mentally clicked on it. Whoa! That's wild. He sighed, a chair suddenly appearing in his hand. What's next? The mall. Still locked, system settings 2, unavailable. Nangong Yan scratched his head, looking bummed. Man, hope there's a way to unlock those. That left just the pet section and mission logs. Should be, he muttered. Why'd I even say, should? Bet the mission's changed. He clicked the flashing icon, and bingo, there were differences. Pagination. Task log and, system log, ultimate mission, become a master in the ACGN field. Mission description, player's determination triggered this mission. Go for it. Mission goal, become a major player in the ACGN field. Task reward, system functions unlocked, based on completion. Main tasks, none. Secondary tasks, none. Whoa, my goal triggered the ultimate mission. Nangong Yan shook his head, then grinned at the system log. You're the big change. Let's see what you're all about. System logging, contact with unknown energy. System alteration. System log generated. Unknown energy absorption. Unknown system changes. System jump update. System version 0.8 v99. System escapes the imaginary number space. Player bound, Nangong Yan. System detection, current world unsuitable for player development. Parallel world jump initiating. Player Nangong Yan exposed to unknown energy radiation. Player Nangong Yan develops new talent. Parallel world jump successful. Player Nangong Yan successfully merged with parallel world Nangong Yan. Nangong Yan was floored. What the hell was that? Holy crap. I don't even know how to react. Anyone would be freaking out if this happened to them. After getting his bearings, he carefully reread the system log. So that's why I'm here. Time travel. Nangong Yan felt a rush. Clenching a fist, he reread the system prompts. But what is this unknown energy? Spacetime stuff. Primeval cosmic power. Probably something like that. Only something that nuts could mess with a game system like this. Nangong Yan decided. And only that kind of power could yeet me across dimensions. Sitting down on the bed, he pondered. The prompt, player Nangong Yan exposed to unknown energy, bugged him. The energy it radiated itself, the energy the system absorbed. Could that be it? He figured so. The system was tied to him, after all. Then again, maybe it was some other energy he caught during the dimension hop. Why am I obsessing over this? Nangong Yan gave up on researching his mystery talent. I feel fine, no side effects, and while this system probably could make me all-powerful, I still need somewhere to actually learn some skills. A quick internet search confirmed that this was a typical modern world. No hidden magic, no secret societies of martial arts masters. Tai Chi looks mysterious, I guess. Nangong Yan muttered sarcastically. It looked cheesy, even to him. That rant actually made him feel better. Gathering himself, he started thinking about his next move. Opening the mission panel, he looked again at the become a master in the ACGN field goal. He then opened the skills panel. Looking at his skills, Nangong Yan was confused. Okay, programming LV6 makes sense. That was my life before. But LV3 and LV2 and other stuff. Hobbies. Cooking LV4. How much did I like food research? Let's juice this thing. He went to pump points. If this is the ultimate mission, then writing and comics get maxed out first. Life skills, comics LV2 LV9, cannot be upgraded, upgrade conditions are unknown. Writing LV2 LV9, cannot be upgraded, upgrade conditions are unknown. Reasoning LV0, click for detailed skills. Skill points, 6, what the what? Nangong Yan stared. You could do this in games. Is this 'cause it's real life now? Concentrating, he realized that a ton of new knowledge had been dumped into his brain. He could do this, but what special stuff was needed to max out the skills? Wait a sec. Something clicked. Reasoning. Where the heck did that come from? Could it be that he'd developed it himself by analyzing and guessing? Guessing so. He wasn't sure, but it was the most logical explanation. Is that how you get skills? Suddenly figuring it out, Nangong Yan was stoked. Hey, that's actually pretty cool. He decided to try out his new abilities later, to see what level he was really at. Standing, he went to grab paper and pens. Just as he moved, a voice boomed from the ceiling, boom. Bump. Okay. Heard ya. Food's coming. Nangong Yan replied without thinking, wow, that was automatic. How many times had he heard that before? Who was upstairs? Chapter 4. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He answered the voice in his head, then glanced at his skill bar again and noticed something new, other skills, floor talk LV6. Nangong Yan. Seriously? That's a skill. It's about as useful as my coding abilities. System, aren't you supposed to have a system wizard? I'm starting to think you're just messing with me. Annoyed, Nangong Yan was about to dive back into the system's instruction manual when another loud noise erupted from upstairs, boom. Okay. I heard you. I'm coming, hold your horses. His train of thought derailed, Nangong Yan headed out of the room, memories flooded back as he recalled the day his sister first came home, the tiny figure hid behind his stepmother, peeking out with just one eye. She snuck glances at him, then, nudged by her mother, shyly shuffled forward, head down, face flushed, and whispered, "Nice to meet you, big brother." Whoa. Heart attack. Please be nice to me. Ever since, the little loli hadn't stepped foot outside the house, becoming a permanent shut-in. At first, Nangong Yan was puzzled about how she got her change of clothes, but then he figured it out, she probably snuck out when no one else was home. So, this is Eromanga-sensei's world, huh? Nangong Yan felt like he'd stumbled onto something big. But where's Izumi Masamune? Did I replace him or something? Maybe it was his reasoning skills kicking in, but he had a feeling that was exactly what had happened. He stroked his chin thoughtfully. Looks like I'll need to level up my deduction skills, just in case. Entering the kitchen, the environment and utensils felt strangely familiar. He realized his level 4 cooking skills must have come from cooking for his sister. What to make? He opened the fridge, surveying the ingredients and the leftover rice in the cooker. Not much time, guess it'll have to be something simple, like omelette rice. Or maybe fried rice. After a moment's consideration, he settled on fried rice, partly because he'd never made it in this world, and partly to test his new system skills. He cranked his cooking skills up to level 5 and, feeling the extra experience surge into his mind, got to work. From heating the oil to plating the finished dish, everything flowed smoothly. Yangzhou fried rice, complete. I definitely feel more proficient with the extra skill points, Nangong Yan observed thoughtfully. The system gives you the experience, but you still need to practice to really master it and build muscle memory. Still, the experience boost is invaluable. Energy levels still full. He checked his energy bar. I guess it doesn't deduct energy for simple tasks. Maybe it only drains when I'm actually tired. Nangong Yan placed the fried rice on a tray and headed toward his sister's room. Upstairs, he stopped in front of her permanently closed door and knocked gently. "Sajiri, dinner's ready. I brought it up for you." Silence. Nangong Yan sighed inwardly, set the tray on the floor, and announced, "Okay, Sajiri, I'm leaving the rice here. Remember to come get it." He'd known what to expect from watching the anime in his previous life, but it was still strange to remember she'd been a shut-in since their first meeting. Reluctant to give up so easily, Nangong Yan stroked his chin, a mischievous glint in his eye. "Little lowly Sajiri, there's no way I can't get you to come out of your room." He spoke loudly as he left, then crept back down the stairs, eyes glued to the door with the heart-shaped nameplate that read Sajiri in delicate lettering. After a moment, the door creaked open a crack, Sajiri's head popped out to scan the hallway, and with a whoosh, the tray disappeared. Bang! The door slammed shut, Nangong Yan slowly peeked his head out, a grin spreading across his face. He'd considered jumping out to surprise her, but decided against it. Frightening Sajari would be a terrible thing to do. He returned to the kitchen, whipped up a simple fried rice dish for himself, and dug in. The food he made himself actually tasted pretty good. I never expected level 5 cooking skills to be this good. I couldn't do this in my past life. He sighed, then thought about the rest of his abilities. I need to level up as soon as possible, or I'll run out of skill points. I've got a bunch of skills I want to upgrade, and I'm sure more useful ones will unlock later on. Pulling up his character interface, Nangong Yan was about to figure out how to gain experience when he noticed something. Level 1, 10 out of 100, Nangong Yan. Alright, let's analyze how I gained that experience. Analyze it? Thinking back to the vague sensation he'd felt earlier, he checked his skill bar. Life skills, reasoning LV0 LV1. Skill points, 4, the experience must be related to system operations, like skills, cooking skills. Something didn't feel right, but he grabbed a cucumber and ate it anyway. Nope, no change. Nangong Yan wasn't surprised as he finished his lunch. If he wasn't cooking, he was eating. Simply eating by himself probably wouldn't do anything, so these 10 points of experience must be contributed by Sajari. Confirming his suspicion, he felt a surge of understanding. She must have approved of my cooking. 10 minutes earlier, Sajari's room, the curtains were drawn, casting the room in semi-darkness, but the glow from her computer screen illuminated the room. Clutching the tray, she shuffled into the room and placed her lunch on the small round table. Her eyes widened as she looked at the unfamiliar dish. What is this? Yangzhou fried rice? She knew her brother had never made it before. This dish, but I still barely recognize that it is not a local dish from Penglai province, but a dish from mainland China, because I have seen it on the internet. It smells amazing and looks so good. It's gotta be delicious. The aroma was making her mouth water. Okay, here I go. Clasping her hands together, she addressed the food in front of her. Sajari scooped up a spoonful of rice and slowly put it into her mouth. Ah! A spark of light flickered in her watery eyes, and before she'd even swallowed, she squeaked. Big Brother's cooking skills seem to have gotten even better. It's so good. Delicious. She dove into the plate with gusto. Okay, I'm stuffed, my stomach's a little full. She rubbed her belly, then clasped her hands together again. Thanks for the food. She crawled onto the bed, leaned against a pillow to ease her overstuffed feeling. Thinking of something, a faint blush bloomed on her cheeks. She grabbed the pillow and buried her face in it, her soft giggles escaping. He. If this 10 points of experience was doubled, Sajari would have only contributed 5 points of experience. Remembering the system's mechanics, Nangong Yan was still unsure. As long as a dish is recognized, it will have 5 points of experience. Or is it related to the skill level? Or is it related to the degree of recognition? I'll figure it out eventually. For now, I should go out, get my bearings, and buy some art supplies for drawing comics. With that thought, Nangong Yan decided to say hello to Sajari and head out. Chapter 5. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Getting pumped for a day out, Nangong Yan headed to the shoe rack by the door. He looked up and called to a little girl who was chilling at home. Sajari. I'm running out to grab some stuff. You need anything? Silence. But Nangong Yan wasn't surprised, he was used to it. Alright, I'm heading out. With that, he left the house, eager to get going. As he walked, the road stretching out before him, Nangong Yan gazed at the trees lining the street. Are those cherry blossoms? They're just starting to bloom, not many flowers yet. He thought of the breathtaking cherry blossoms in Garden of Words, an anime from his past life. Nangong Yan was getting more and more excited. Speaking of which, should I make a cherry blossom themed story my debut work? Nangong Yan felt a surge of excitement. Cherry blossoms, 5 centimeters per second is the first thing that pops into my head. Actually, another story instantly came to mind, but Nangong Yan was saving that one as his ace in the hole, so he didn't want to release it right away. Besides, there were some issues with starting with 5 centimeters per second. It wasn't exactly groundbreaking stuff. If Nangong Yan created something like that at his age, it might raise some eyebrows. After mulling it over and giving the cherry blossom tree another once-over, Nangong Yan scrapped the idea and decided to kick things off with a campus story. After walking a while longer, Nangong Yan reached the top of a slope. Looking down, his heart skipped a beat. Am I seeing things? Is that Detective Conan? What is this world? As he stood there, dumbfounded, a gust of wind swept down the hill, carrying a UFO with it. Before Nangong Yan could react, thwack! It plastered itself to his face. Nangong Yan. Huh? He peeled the UFO off his face and looked at it. It was a white beret. A powerful sense of déjà vu washed over him. Nangong Yan's heart did a little flip. He thought of a line from a song, first there were the saints, then heaven. I am as beautiful as a fairy in a painting. Oh! Wait for me. A sweet voice carried on the breeze. He looked up and saw a figure in a white dress. The image of her framed by the fluttering cherry blossoms etched itself into his memory. Nangong Yan couldn't help but murmur, it really is Saint Aerie. He saw her holding her hair, which was blowing in the wind, with one hand and holding down her fluttering skirt hem with the other, standing there looking a little lost. Nangong Yan chuckled and started walking toward her. Here, your hat. With a gentle smile, Nangong Yan handed the hat to the girl in front of him, whispering softly, try not to lose it next time. Taking the hat, the girl said in a pleasant but matter-of-fact voice, thank you, Mr. Nangong. Huh? Nan. Mr. Nangong. Nangong Yan's smile faltered. That reaction, so you really don't remember me? The girl's expression remained unchanged. She tilted her head and said calmly, I'm Kato, from your class. We've been in the same class for over a year. We haven't spoken, but I know the name of my classmate. I know. Saint Aerie, no, Kato, I know. I knew it in my past life. Nangong Yan secretly cursed himself for being so clueless. How could he not remember such a lovely girl like Aerie Spencer Sawamura? Okay, I'll just assume you know. Her tone was still neutral, but Nangong Yan sensed she didn't believe him. Nangong Yan. Realizing he couldn't explain it, Nangong Yan gave up. He'd spend more time with her in the future. Time to change the subject. By the way, Kato, what are you doing here? Nangong Yan asked. Kato Aerie gave him a searching look. Nangong Yan felt like she saw right through his attempt to change the topic, but he tried to act cool. Kato Aerie didn't seem to care and answered in her usual quiet tone, oh, I was just taking a walk nearby. Want to walk together? The words blurted out before he could stop himself. Nangong Yan wanted to smack himself. He was so eager. Kato Aerie's expression didn't change, and Nangong Yan couldn't tell what she was thinking. He just heard her reply, no, I was just about to head home. If my hat hadn't blown off, I'd be there by now. Oh. Nangong Yan nodded. Well, I should go shopping too. Nangong Yan felt a twinge of regret, but also a sense of relief. He felt like he was terrible at chatting, and he didn't want to annoy her. See you tomorrow, Mr. Nangong. Kato Aerie's voice broke through his thoughts. He paused for a moment, then realized tomorrow was a school day. Okay. See you tomorrow. He watched as the girl turned and left. Seriously. If I hadn't run into Aerie Spencer Sawamura, I might have forgotten about school tomorrow. He'd only just time-traveled and hadn't fully adjusted to his new life. He needed to pay more attention. Once Kato Aerie was out of sight, Nangong Yan turned and continued toward the comic supplies store. after locating a drawing supplies shop, Nangong Yan went inside. He looked around, walked up to the clerk, and asked, "Excuse me, do you have a section for comic art supplies?" That the clerk watched Nangong Yan approach, her gaze fixed on his handsome features. She was momentarily speechless, her heart skipped a beat. She snapped out of it and quickly replied, "Comic supplies, right? They're in the back, in the comic art section. See that aisle in the very back? Go on in there." Following the clerk's directions, Nangong Yan found the comic supplies section and groaned inwardly at the overwhelming selection. He knew how to draw comics, but he wasn't familiar with the tools. Back in LV2, he'd only learned the basics and hadn't used professional-grade equipment. Feeling limited by the system's skills, Nangong Yan decided to turn his experience into practical ability as soon as possible. Better to get a feel for the edges and see how they handle. With that in mind, Nangong Yan started shopping. Complete sets of comic tools were available, so he didn't have to worry about buying everything separately. However, the same tools made by different manufacturers felt slightly different and suited different people, because his head was full of classic stories from the past. Nangong Yan was determined to do his best to show the people of Earthstar the greatest possible appeal of these works. He decided to buy everything he needed in half an hour and started trying out the various tools. To anyone watching, he clearly wasn't a beginner. His movements were efficient, yet refined. Nangong Yan's actions attracted the attention of someone nearby. This person hesitated, then approached him. "Excuse me. Are you a cartoonist?" A clear voice called out in his ear. Nangong Yan stopped what he was doing and turned around slowly. He looked at the petite figure in front of him, blonde twin tails, bright blue eyes, and porcelain skin. At first glance, she looked like a pampered princess. Nangong Yan could only sigh, what a coincidence. Chapter 6. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The girl turned, saw Nangong Yan's face, and curled her lip. "Well, look who it is." "Nangong." Nangong Yan shrugged, grinning. "That's me. Small world, Xili, whoops, I mean, Lily. Huh. Home pair. What did you call me?" Like a startled cat, Lily's twin ponytails flew as she playfully slapped Nangong Yan's cheeks. Nangong Yan raised his arms in mock defense, amused to see the scene playing out just as he remembered. Sawamura Spencer Lily. That was the girl's full name. Her father was a British diplomat, and her family was loaded. She was the eldest daughter of a seriously wealthy family. Yeah, Nangong Yan and Lily knew each other. Their parents were both high achievers, and they went to the same school, so interaction was inevitable. They'd become acquainted over time, but it also stirred up memories of his past life. The accidental slip of Xili had clearly gotten under her skin. After all, Lily kept her true identity under wraps. Hardly anyone knew she was the famous artist Kashiwagi Miles in the fan community. She paused, a bit flustered, then huffed. "Fine. You got lucky this time." Nangong Yan, still chuckling, asked, "So, Lily, what are you doing here?" "That's what I should be asking," Lily retorted, crossing her arms. "What's the young master of the Nangong family doing buying art supplies? You think I might, perhaps, be interested in drawing some comics?" Lily looked genuinely shocked, like she'd witnessed something unbelievable. Nangong Yan sighed. He couldn't exactly explain his bizarre situation, so he just said, "Is it really that strange? I've got some stories kicking around in my head and I want to put them down on paper, or maybe write them out." Lily looked unconvinced. "Since when could you draw? It's not exactly a talent worth bragging about, is it?" Nangong Yan replied with a playful smile. "Not that you're one to talk. I don't see your classmates lining up to find out you can draw." "Idiot. Keep your voice down." Lily's face flushed, and she geared up for another ponytail punishment session. Seeing trouble brewing, Nangong Yan quickly surrendered. Okay, my bad. Won't happen again." Lily's anger flared. "There better not be a next time. Slip of the tongue. Total slip of the tongue." Lily was furious. How had he found out her secret? If my mom had just kept her mouth shut that first time you came over as a guest, you wouldn't have ever figured it out. Lily grumbled. Don't worry, I'm not about to blab it to the whole school, Nangong Yan reassured her. But honestly, plenty of people in the industry probably know. It's bound to come out sooner or later. Ever thought about going public? Lily was silent for a moment, then burst out, You think I want to stay in the shadows? But my fans expect a certain style from me. I'm not cranking out any stories that will make me famous, so what choice do I have? Seeing Lily's frustration, Nangong Yan gently patted her head. Then, how about you help me? Huh? Are you kidding? Lily snapped back, automatically. She even forgot to shove his hand away from her head. Nope, dead serious. Nangong Yan said as he quietly pulled his hand back. You're short on stories, I've got plenty. And I'm planning on branching out into games, especially visual novels, which means a ton of original artwork. You're serious about this? Lily studied him intently. This isn't something you can just wing. Even with you as the writer and me doing the art, that's just two people. You really think we can pull this off? Didn't I mention it? My sister can draw too, and she's pretty darn good. Nangong Yan was determined to getting Lily on board. Sajari can draw. Since when? You never said anything. Lily was floored. She'd never suspected the little shut-in could draw. And according to Nangong Yan, she was good. Seeing her reaction, Nangong Yan smirked. And she's actually pretty famous. In some ways, I'd say she's as good as you are, Lily. Yinglili's curiosity was piqued. As good as me? Who is she? Eromanga-sensei. He wore a mischievous grin. Lily was too shocked to notice. Eromanga-sensei. Eromanga-sensei. Understanding finally dawned, and her sapphire eyes widened with realization. She whirled on Nangong Yan. Sajari is Eromanga-sensei. You're kidding, right? She's the famous illustrator, Eromanga-sensei. Nangong Yan threw up his hands. Why would I lie about something like that? Yeah, Sajari is Eromanga-sensei, but she doesn't know that I know, so keep it under your hat. Seeing that Nangong Yan wasn't bluffing, Lily tried to calm down. Don't worry. I can keep a secret. But... Eromanga-sensei, I really murmured, surprised. We've actually talked online. I had no idea it was Sajari. Well, if that's true, your idea might just work. Lily felt a flicker of excitement. Was she really about to make something great with Nangong Yan? Do you think 3 people will be enough? Lily asked. Don't worry, we'll get more people on board. Nangong Yan said, thinking about how strange this world was, how the two worlds had merged together, and how there might be undiscovered ones. Not just artists, I'll need people to fill all sorts of roles. Lily considered his words. Finally, she made up her mind, raised her hand, and pointed at Nangong Yan. Alright, I'll give you a chance. You said you have a story. Bring your plan to school tomorrow. If it can impress me, I'll join your team. The girl declared. Nangong Yan smiled confidently and said firmly, Deal. You're not backing out of this. A blush crept across Lily's cheeks as she replied haughtily, You just wait until you come up with something worth impressing me. Amused, Nangong Yan remembered why he was here and asked Lily, Oh, by the way, can you recommend some good art supplies? Piece of cake. Leave it to Irie-sama. Lily puffed out her chest confidently. Chapter 7. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After taking the job, Lily grabbed a pencil and said, Try this one out. See if you like it. Nangong Yan took the pencil and scribbled on a piece of paper on the counter. In seconds, a cute, cartoon version of a petite figure appeared. Huh? Why me? Ing Lily gasped, shocked. She recognized it instantly. The cartoon drawing Nangong Yan had just done was actually her. Nangong Yan grinned, seeing her reaction. So. Pretty good, huh? Good wasn't the word. Ing Lily was floored. Even though it was just a chibi drawing, it was better than what most cartoonists could do. Didn't know you were hiding this talent, she said, giving him a once-over like she was seeing him in a new light, adding with a hint of anticipation, I'm actually kinda excited to see what you come up with tomorrow. Stay tuned. Nangong Yan said with confidence, but without a hint of arrogance, it was just a fact. And because it came so easily, Nangong Yan wasn't about to get a big head, he figured these abilities weren't really his yet. Until he mastered them, he wasn't gonna get all cocky about it. After a serious shopping spree, both Nangong Yan and Ing Lily breathed a sigh of relief. All those supplies were a killer. If Ing Lily hadn't been there, he would have been shopping forever. Okay, done. Why am I putting myself through this again? Ing Lily grumbled, but Nangong Yan knew she wasn't really complaining. It was just her way of talking, so, he reassured her, relax, you're not doing this for nothing. You'll see tomorrow. I hope so. Ing Lily replied, sounding worn out. Seeing her so drained, Nangong Yan paused. Hey, how about I give you a ride home? She looked right at him, then quickly glanced away, pursing her lips. Nah, forget it. You should focus on wowing me with your plan first. See ya. She waved, then turned and walked away. Watching her go, Nangong Yan remembered what he'd come out to do. He'd almost finished, but there was one thing left to buy. Then, he'd head to the cemetery to visit his mom. After grabbing flowers and her favorite food, Nangong Yan arrived at the cemetery and stood before his mother's grave. He arranged the flowers, looking at the warm smile in her photo. Opening a container of her favorite tuna sashimi, he said, Don't worry. I'm okay. We kinda merged together, so. Mom. I promise to take care of myself and try to make my life more awesome. Mom, I hope you're doing great in heaven. Whatever mood he'd been in before, the anxiety from time traveling, the excitement of discovering the system, the thrill of seeing Sajiri, Megumi, and Irie, it all faded away, replaced by sincere gratitude and love for the mom he'd found in this life. Mom, I'm heading home. I've got a little sister who needs me to look after her. I'll come back soon. He said goodbye, about to leave the tuna sashimi, when. Whoa! A shadow darted out, heading straight for the tuna. Nangong Yan jumped, scattering the sashimi everywhere. He stared at the small figure in front of him, stunned for a second, then recognized it. Positive? He'd figured this world might have more than just two timelines merging, and now here was another one. Maybe they really were all part of the same world. Nangong Yan reached out to pet the kitten, but its fur stood on end. It let out a low growl, warning him to back off. He pulled his hand back, checked the system, and saw he'd unlocked another skill. Other skills, Cat Whisper LV0, Nangong Yan. Whatever. He was used to it. If he could get floor talk, why not cat talk? Meow. He heard the cat's cry and saw it staring at him. After hesitating, Nangong Yan dumped 3 skill points into Cat Whisper, Cat Language LV0, LV3, skill points, 1. Nangong Yan figured that with level 3 Cat Language, he should be able to understand what it was saying. Hey, little guy, what did you say? Nangong Yan asked. Huh? You can speak cat. The cat was shocked, then asked. Huh, I know a little. What were you saying before? Nangong Yan asked with a smile. Oh, I was asking why you aren't eating it. The cat replied. You're still on that. Nangong Yan looked at the scattered sashimi, and said angrily. Luckily I bought an extra box. If you want it, I will buy it for you, just don't touch this box. Taking out a new box and placing it in front of his mother's grave, Nangong Yan turned back to face the cat. The little guy looked confused, asking, why? Because this is for my mother, she always loved this. Nangong Yan said with a hint of nostalgia. he clapped his hands, stood up, and asked the kitten, "Hey, wanna come with me? How about I take care of you from now on?" "Nah." After thinking about it for a bit, the little guy answered. Nangong Yan was surprised. "Why not?" After some hesitation, the little guy gave his reason. "You don't seem like a bad person, but I don't have a reason to let you take care of me. I'll pay you back for eating your food, then, see you later." What a sensible little guy. Nangong Yan knew her from his previous life, but seeing her like this made her even more endearing. "You sure you don't want to come? What you just ate will be on the menu a lot in the future." Nangong Yan said temptingly. Instantly, the little guy's personality did a 180. Her expression was no longer sharp and fierce, but her face softened, her eyes glowed, and she drooled. "You really eat yummy food like that often?" Unable to resist, the kitten was ready to change his mind. Nangong Yan watched him with amusement, and said, "You can bet on it." After picking up his things, Nangong Yan turned to go home. Looking back, the little guy was still standing there. "What are you waiting for? Let's go." Time to head home. There was a light in his eyes, and he took a long look at Nangong Yan's back, and finally, he chased after him. "Well, I'm just looking out for this guy, not because I want to eat yummy food." The long shadows of one big and one small looked especially harmonious in the sunset. "Hey! I should give you a name." "What name?" asked the little guy. "I can't just keep calling you little guy, right?" "Oh, what should my name be?" the little guy asked. "How about Yang? Have a meal?" The little guy felt strange. "It's not about eating, it's about the warm sun." "Warm, sun, huh? Brat, no." When Yang heard this name, it made her heart warm. "Is this my name?" "Yeah, not bad, huh?" Chapter 8. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Nangong Yan got home with his cat, Xiao Yang. He opened the door, dropped his stuff, and turned to the little furball who was frozen in the doorway. "Come on in. Don't just stand there." Yang hesitated, then slowly padded into the house. Nangong Yan called out, "Sajari. I'm back. I'll introduce you to the new member of the family later." Scene changed to Sajari's room. "Sajari. What? A new member?" Sajari's eyes widened in a panic. "Is it possible? Does my brother have a girlfriend?" Her mind raced, and she completely lost it. "No, no," she whispered, staring at her door, fighting her fear of the outside world. Then, she took a deep breath, threw open the door, and bolted out. "Hey!" Nangong Yan started to say, but a thump cut him off. He jumped back, startled. Yang's fur stood on end, and she flattened herself against the wall, hissing. Nangong Yan was totally confused, hearing the clatter upstairs. What was going on with Sajari? It can't be. It can't be like this. Sajari yelled, rushing to the stairwell and stopping short. She looked around, bewildered. Where was her brother's girlfriend? It was just her brother. She was still reeling when she spotted another little creature. A cat? A kitty? Sajari murmured, then realized that this was the new family member. Her face flushed crimson, and she darted back into her room. Nangong Yan stared in disbelief, his head spinning. What was that all about? What just happened? Was he dreaming? Oh my God! What just happened? Sajari actually came out. On his very first day in this world, Sajari had left her room. Nangong Yan felt like he'd unlocked some kind of achievement, but there wasn't even a system to acknowledge it. Yang, now calmer, eyed the bewildered Nangong Yan. What was that? What was wrong with the human? She asked. Nangong Yan finally snapped out of it, looked down at her, and said with a strange smile, "Ah, that's my sister. She pretty much lives in her room." Seeing her come out like that, I was just a little surprised. Asterisk liar, asterisk, she thought. Asterisk, I can tell you're not just a little happy. You're practically glowing. Your smile is borderline creepy, star. The little cat took a subtle step back, feeling a vague sense of danger. Seeing her retreat, Nangong Yan's face fell. Seriously? You're backing away from me? That's harsh. Yang didn't respond, but she didn't relax either. Okay. Nangong Yan relented. I just got a little carried away. I'm fine now. She doesn't leave the house, and she hardly ever talks to people, Nangong Yan said, his gaze distant. I don't know why she came out today, but this is a step in the right direction. He looked directly at Yang, his voice full of conviction. Yang, we're family now. I'm going to help Sajari get out of her shell, and I could really use your help. Would you be willing to spend some time with her? Play with her, maybe. Help her before she gets back into her room. Yang was silent for a long moment. You humans are a handful, she said with a sigh. Fine, leave it to me. Aren't we, family? Nangong Yan scooped her up and gave her a big hug despite her squirming. You're the best. You're so cute. He nuzzled her, his voice full of emotion. I'm so glad I met you. Feeling his warmth and hearing his words, Yang stopped struggling and nestled against his neck, thinking the same thing. Asterisk, it's so great to meet you too, star. Putting Yang back on the ground, Nangong Yan remembered what he'd been about to say before Sajari's dramatic entrance. By the way, I need to give you a bath. Are you afraid of water? He knew most cats hated water, so he wanted to check first. She bristled again. Water. No. Her body language made it clear. She wanted nothing to do with water. Nangong Yan got the message. Okay, I'll figure out another way to clean you up. Doing it myself would take forever. He pondered for a moment, then opened the system. Oh. The pet system's active. He noticed the logo, previously grayed out, was now in color. Maybe this was the answer. Is the pet system automatically set up to be my pet? Nangong Yan frowned slightly. I have the ability to understand cats, so I really can't treat Yang as a pet. But whatever. It's not like I really think that way. This little guy is family. After thinking it over, he entered the pet page, name, Yang, level, 12, status, fullness, 80 out of 100, cleanliness, 30 out of 100, health, 90 out of 100, mood, 100 out of 100, available skills, cleaning, petting, care, training, exploration. Nangong Yan was surprised to see that Yang was level 12, was it because she trained with the tiger sister for a while? He clicked on cleaning, and a cartoon image of Yang appeared, along with a soap icon. Remembering the instructions, Nangong Yan crouched down in front of Yang. I'm going to try something to see how it works. Don't run off. He dragged the soap icon over Yang's virtual image and moved it back and forth. Whoa! What's that feel like? The little cat felt more relaxed, and there was a pleasant scent in the air. What did you do? Yang asked, confused. Just his squatting in front of her had somehow changed something. Just think of it as my special way of giving you a bath, Nangong Yan grinned. It works out great, since you hate water. I can do it like this and you don't have to get wet. Just tell me when you need cleaning. The little cat said nothing, but she closed her eyes, savoring the sensation. All right. All clean. He checked Yang's status, level, 1, 20 out of 100, energy, 95/100. Nangong Yan considered this thoughtfully. Did using skills that defied the laws of physics drain his energy? And it also gave him experience. He glanced at the little cat, now washing her face with her eyes half closed, so this works too. As long as the skills feel good to me, they give me experience. That's awesome. Here, let me pamper you a bit. He switched to the care page and repeated the process, seeing that he'd gained 10 experience points and lost 5 energy points. Nangong Yan smiled with satisfaction. Pet status, fullness, 80 out of 100, cleanliness, 100 out of 100, health, 100 out of 100, mood, 100 out of 100. The remaining skills were petting, which increased mood, training, which decreased mood, and adventure. He wasn't sure how those would work in reality. I'll try it later. Now, it's time for me to make dinner. Chapter 9. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Coming upstairs, he knocked on Sajari's door. Sajari, I'm about to cook. Want to come down and eat later? Silence. Nangong Yan shrugged. All right. I'm too eager. Hey, after dinner, how about the kitten comes in to play with you for a bit? Before heading downstairs to cook, Nangong Yan stopped, turned back, and added, oh, and her name's Yang. Be nice to her. Don't make her do anything she doesn't want to. Sajari was still silent. Geez. I wouldn't do anything like that. Sajari muttered, a little indignant, then giggled, a blush creeping up her cheeks. Thanks. Brother, for caring about me so much. In the kitchen, he glanced down at the little cat following him. Speaking of which, Yang, cats shouldn't eat too much salt, right? Yang looked up at Nangong Yan, then nodded. Nangong Yan didn't push it. He knew she was still a little reserved. He'd give them time to warm up to each other. Okay, then I'll make you some cat food. Level 1, 50 out of 100. Energy, 100 out of 100. After dinner, Nangong Yan checked his stats, pleased with the improvement. Huh. Energy's coming back pretty quick. 3 points per meal, huh. Looking at Yang, who had just finished her food, he said, you can rest anywhere that's soft, like the sofa or bed. If you need a bathroom, the yard is fine. Okay. Got it. Maybe she was starting to relax, because she answered without hesitation this time. Then you can relax or play for a while. I'll clean up, then take you to meet my sister. He started clearing the cooking mess and washing dishes. Yang watched Nangong Yan bustling around, lost in thought. What kind of person was his sister? She seemed strange. Well. He doesn't seem like a bad guy. She thought, licking her paw. We're family now, anyway. Sajari, who had just placed her dinner plate outside the door, returned to her bed. My brother's cooking really is getting better. Sajari felt a surge of happiness. She could eat her brother's food every day from now on. She smiled to herself. I'm so happy. Come to think of it, her brother said he was bringing the cat up, right? What should she do? Sajari started to panic. Should she open the door for her brother? Or not? Or maybe just let the cat in? Sajari was torn. After a long internal debate, she decided, I'll let the cat in first. But my brother? No way. I'd be way too embarrassed if my brother came in. She buried her face in her pillow and tossed and turned for a while before stopping. Dong dong dong. A knock on the door, followed by a voice. Sajari, it's me. Yang's here too. Can you open the door? Sajari jumped. She trembled and fell off the bed. Ow. That hurt. Rubbing her butt, Sajari realized her brother was here before she was ready. After a moment, she crept to the door and cracked it open a sliver. Nangong Yan was silent. Well. A crack was still a huge step. Okay. I won't push you, I'll just let Yang in. He looked back at Yang. Please, Yang, I'm leaving my sister to you. I hope she comes out of her room soon. Yang looked at Nangong Yan and said firmly, meow. Leave it to me. Nangong Yan watched Yang walk into Sajari's room, his emotions a jumble. He stood there for a long time, speechless. No point in standing here. I'll just get out of the way. He grabbed the tray Sajari had left outside and went downstairs. Inside, a girl and a cat stared at each other, sizing each other up. Sajari, oh. What a cute little kitten. Though she does look a little fierce. Yang, meow. What is this human saying? I don't understand a word. He. So cute. Sajari reached out to pick her up. Yang took a half step back, hesitated, and then allowed Sajari to scoop her up. It wasn't just that she trusted Sajari wouldn't hurt her, but that she trusted Nangong Yan. She believed Nangong Yan wouldn't lie to her, and that Nangong Yan's family wouldn't harm her. Holding Yang close, Sajari gently stroked her back, her face lit with joy. Feeling Sajari's warmth and the gentle touch, Yang relaxed. Meow. Turns out this guy's family isn't so bad either. Huh? What are you saying, kitty? Sajari asked, hearing the sound. Oh, right. You can't understand anything I say. Meow. What is this guy saying again? Kitty, your name is Xiaoyang, right? Sajari asked again. Meow. I don't know what you're saying, but you must be calling my name. Pleased to meet you. Xiaoyang. Sajari said, taking Yang's paw and shaking it gently. Meow. Meow. Huh? She's calling me by name again. Still don't understand. This girl is weird. Does she even speak cat? A Lolita and a cat, chatting happily. Nangong Yan was fidgeting. Were they getting along? Would they start fighting? He hadn't heard any strange noises from upstairs, so Nangong Yan felt a little relieved. I hope they get along. That's all that matters. I should stop worrying and just focus on my own stuff. He stood up, deciding to head back to his room. That's right. He had agreed to Lily's plan and had to get started tonight. Otherwise, what if Shiley backed out? Back in his room, Nangong Yan took out a pen and paper, sat at his desk, and thought back to meeting Really earlier in the day. Looks like I'm going to have to change my plans. Before meeting Lily, Nangong Yan had planned to start with a campus-themed work, like Dragon and Tiger, but if he wanted to impress Irie enough to join him, Dragon and Tiger wouldn't cut it. He needed something bigger. Something that would blow people away at first glance. Thinking about the works that had deeply moved him, Nangong Yan finally made up his mind. That's it. Your name. Nangong Yan decided to use your name. To recruit his team. Closing his eyes, he focused, using his full memory to recall the plot of your name, then started writing. The story begins 1 month before the once-in-a-thousand-year comet is due to visit Itamori Town, a rural town in Hida City, Horai Province. Chapter 10. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Finally, done. Nangong Yan moved and felt something odd. He glanced down. Huh? When did you get back, little one? Yang was asleep on his lap. Nangong Yan smiled down at her. Sorry. Did I wake you? He scooped her up, got out of the chair, and walked to the bed, placing her gently next to the pillow. Sleep here. He nestled the kitten in his arms, watching her stretch and curl into a ball. A smile spread across his face. He stared for a while, thinking about everything that happened today. Nangong Yan felt a pang of sadness and a touch of worry, afraid he'd wake up to find it was all a dream. I thought I was accepting it quickly, but does it even feel real yet? He muttered, then took a deep breath. Forget it, no use dwelling on it. I'm going to bed too. Success or failure, tomorrow will tell. He washed up and climbed into bed. Good night, Yang. Nangong Yan whispered to the cat, and then, click. The room went dark. The kitten raised her head, opened her eyes, and looked at him silently. After a while, sensing that he was sound asleep, Yang shifted closer to his face, snuggled down, and drifted off too. When Nangong Yan woke up, the fur tickling his face made him smile. He sat up and looked at the kitten sleeping peacefully on the pillow. A little itchy, but it seems like Yang is finally warming up to me. He tiptoed out of bed, got dressed, washed up, and went to prepare breakfast for 2 people and 1 cat, plus a lunchbox. Jiang Yang's breakfast was ready, and the cat, who'd been waiting nearby, drooling at the aroma, couldn't wait to dig in. Aha! Food! Food! Yum! Amused, Nangong Yan told the kitten, "You eat first." He grabbed Sajari's breakfast and headed upstairs, knocking on her door. "Sajari, aren't you coming out to eat?" Expecting nothing, Nangong Yan was surprised when the door cracked open, not wide, but definitely a gap. Then, Sajari's little head peeked through. Nangong Yan, excited, exclaimed, "Sajari! You're finally coming out." Startled by his outburst, Sajari flinched back, but she held her ground. In a voice barely audible, Nangong Yan heard, "Brother, I'd rather eat in my room for now." A little disappointed, Nangong Yan was about to speak when Sajari added, "But I'll try my best. I'll work hard to have dinner with you, brother." "Great! Fantastic! I'll be waiting." "Take your time, Sajari. I'll wait until you're ready, and then we'll eat together." Overjoyed, he was shaking so much he almost dropped the food. He held out the breakfast. Sajari hesitated, then opened the door a sliver and slowly took it. Snap! The door slammed shut. Nangong Yan. Oh well. Progress is progress. The day Sajari leaves her room isn't far off. Right. Sajari, I packed your lunch for you. You can heat it up yourself later. And I made Yang's cat food too. Could you help her heat it up, please? Thinking he'd covered everything, Nangong Yan finished with, "Okay, I'm going to eat now. I'm going to school today. Please wait until I get back to clean up the dishes." After wolfing down his breakfast and checking his stats again, level 1, 70 out of 100. Looks like I can level up today. Nangong Yan was pleased. Levels were nice, but the chance to rack up experience was coming. His plan was set. He was sure he could win over Erori. After that, he'd take some time to draw and submit his comics first. He needed to make a name for himself, warming up and paving the way for your name. He put on his school uniform, grabbed his bag and plan, and headed for the door. Looking back at the little creature following him, Nangong Yan said, "Yang, I'm going to school. You play at home today and keep Sajari company, okay?" The kitten tilted her head. "What's school?" "It's where you learn things, just like you learn to hunt and find food." "I need to learn things to make me better," he explained. "Oh." The kitten nodded thoughtfully. "Don't worry. I'll take care of the house." "Good, I trust you." Remembering something, he quickly added, "Oh, and I packed your lunch. Sajari will help you heat it up later." "Okay. See ya." He raised his voice. "Sajari. I'm going to school. Don't forget to eat lunch. And Yang's food, too." With those instructions given, Nangong Yan finally set off for school. After he left, Yang stared at the empty hallway for a moment. Then, she headed upstairs to Sajari's door on the 2nd floor, and then, scratched at the door. Private Toyosaki Academy. Standing at the school gates, Nangong Yan remembered his previous life. This is Toyosaki. Ground Zero for Sikano, how to raise a boring girlfriend. Erori, Megumi, and Senior, here I come. Let's do this. Reaching Class 2B, Nangong Yan spotted a familiar face. "Morning, Tomoya." He clapped him on the shoulder. "Whoa. Hamura, dude. You scared me." Tomoya Utaha jumped, then greeted him angrily. "Morning." Nangong Yan raised an eyebrow. "Seriously? You just popped up behind me. Anyone would be startled." Tomoya rolled his eyes. "Never mind that. Tomoya, I've got a plan. Help me out after school, give me your thoughts." Nangong Yan took off without waiting for a response. Tomoya blinked, head full of question marks, then shrugged. "Good morning, Kato." Nangong Yan said to Megumi. Kato, she blinked, then replied calmly, "Good morning, Nangong. Ha! See? I told you I remembered you." Nangong Yan grinned, pleased with himself. Megumi, in that same smooth voice, gave a rather noncommittal reply, "Yeah, okay, sure." Feeling like he'd punched a cloud, Nangong Yan was speechless. "Anyway, Kato, come with me after school. I need your advice on something." Just then, the bell rang. Nangong Yan didn't wait for a reply. The classroom fell silent, and the teacher walked in. "Megumi Kato. P.S. It seems some readers don't like Tomoya." "That's fine, I'm just giving him a small role. Takikoen's promotion is what matters." Tomoya fades into the background. "By the way, please send me flowers and add this to your collection. Dragon Boat Festival Book Reading Sale. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Get a deposit now. Event dates, June 22nd to June 24th.